Well, that was very weird because the music was really soft, and I don't know why. I'm not sure what was going on then because the volume here is okay. That's really bizarre. How are we, everyone? Not sure what happened there. I'll have to check that out. Something in the system was wrong. The other thing too that I noticed was it had a bit of a green screen on it as well. So I think it was just an eCam problem that came up there. So who knows? Not sure. So how are we all? Just checking in to see what everyone's up to. So let's see who's here in the chat. So let me have a look. Hello from Southwest Florida. G'day, buddy. How you going? Heath said right on time early, in fact. I know. How good is that for a change? Brett's here as well. G'day, Brett. Good vibes. Jason said, morning, Mr. Milo. Kerry's going to be bringing me one in very, very soon. I hope. Chris, the intro music is very low. I know. I don't know why, Chris. I did it before we went live and it was fine. So I've got no idea what happened there. No idea at all. Morning, Mr. Milo from Adelaide. I think I said that before. Robbie said, oh man, let's get the show started. Cliff is here as well. Hi from Philadelphia. Brad is saying music volume seems low. Yeah, I know, it's a shame. And like I said, I think there was still a bit of a green screen there as well, which is a bit weird. Hello, David. That's from David as well. Hi from rainy South Florida. So you got a bit of rain today. Axeman is saying hello from Maryland. Mark is also here. G'day, Mark. How you going? Hi, David. After your testing, good morning all. Hey, David. On my way to Bogota, Colombia. Well, that sounds interesting, Joe. What are you doing there? Are you going on holiday or a shooting, or what are you doing? Got something planned? Now, let me show you this too, because I did a review of this yesterday. I put it up. It was only released yesterday, so I couldn't put it up until late yesterday. But this thing is so cool. It's so light because it's a SmallRig device. So if you haven't watched the review, go and watch it. But I just thought I'd show people in case if they haven't seen it. But what you do is you get these little filter rings that you can put on, and all they do is they just screw on the front of your lens. So you obviously get the lens one that suits your camera, and then you just screw this on. Now, someone asked me yesterday, does it work with 82mm? And yes, it does, because I tried it with my 135 GM, so it did actually work with that. Isn't that funny? I can't get that on now. I was perfect just before. Does it go that? No, it doesn't go that way. Always do a live demo and you have issues. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so just screw it in. And then the beauty is that all you have to do then is connect it into here and then tighten this up on the side. Then it becomes, you know, like I said, quite tight. There's a line at the top here that sort of shows it marking. But the great thing is this, you can put two filters in this. You can stack them, actually. It has a plate that comes out here so you can put your square filters in. But it gets better than that because you can put round filters in there. So NDs or whatever you wanted to put in there. So let me show you. I'll show you this. I just grabbed this one out this morning. I think it's got the battery thing on it, has it? So this one here is just a, this is a Freewell filter and it's a glow mist 1/8. But, you know, just pretend it's a variable ND. Well, you just screw that into the front. Like that, and it's in. And the beauty is that you can then still use your variable NDs, or if you wanted to, say, combine a mist filter with a with one of the square filters over this, like if you had a very, very bulbous lens, you know, one of the wide lenses, well, this is great. But you can still then get in to turn this around if it was a variable ND. But the best part about this is you can then eliminate the shadow, you know, or the highlights, the sun coming in the flare, lens flare. That's what I was trying to think about. But how cool is this? Oh, thank you so much, Kerry. Thank you, darling. But yeah, it's great. This can come off. If you want to take that off, you can just sort of screw this off and it will just pull out, I think. Let me just see if I can undo it. So it just comes out if you wanted to do it that way. But it does get the protection from the top, bottom and sides as well, from the sun as well, from flaring there too. But I know, being a wedding photographer particularly, and when I have to go and do all of the portrait shoots, you know, where you do family and stuff like that, I nearly always stand them behind, with the sun behind them. And then there's always flare, and I'm there sort of trying to get my hand over it like this, trying to get the flare away. Well, I'll probably put this in my kit just for that alone, because I can then just put this up like that and stop the flare from getting in to the camera through there. But it's so light because it's all made of carbon fibre, so it doesn't really add any weight to the camera, and it looks really professional, I think. Like if you are doing wedding shooting, it then does start to make the camera look much, much better. And I think, like I said, I think it went on sale yesterday, and it's about $100 US. So I just thought I'd show you that because, I mean, I really think that's amazing, and it's certainly something I'm going to keep in my bag. You've also got spots here too that you can mount stuff on there and things like that. There's a mount underneath here as well that you can use, but boy, comes with any sort of filter size that you can think of. I think up to 92 millimeter, I think you can put in there. So pretty cool, huh? I just thought I'd show that. Delta Dave's here. I hope you get to shoot with the redhead. Sorry, forgot her name. She had. Oh yeah, I will be Rebecca. Yep, definitely. She contacted me the other day actually and said the shoot that we did in the city was one of the favourite shoots she's ever done. So yeah, I will get to shoot with her again. Every time I start to organise a shoot or whatever, we go back into lockdown. It's bloody ridiculous, honestly. I don't know what's going on with our government at the moment. We have, I think there was one case yesterday, and, you know, we've still got to be wearing masks indoors, outdoors. No, not outdoors, but indoors. Weddings are still limited on numbers. You know, businesses are going broke. It's just nuts. I mean, I just don't understand it. We had a bit of a shutdown for 3 weeks the other day. We've just come out of it now again. But, you know, it's how long can businesses keep putting up with this rubbish, honestly? When you think of what's going on overseas where they've got thousands and thousands of cases and they're still open, we're closing with, you know, a few cases, like 5, you know, 2 cases, 3 cases, and they lock it down. It's ridiculous. So anyway, that's enough of the rant there. Yes, I will work with her again sometime, Dave. Dan said, hello from Southeast Florida. Joe said, visiting my wife's family. Cool. Cicadas are gone. So they're finally gone now, are they? Yeah, we've been a while since we've had cicadas, actually. They only come up every few years, don't they? G'day, Ike. How you going? Hey, David. How's it going tuning in from Davenport, Iowa, USA? How you going, buddy? All right, so look, I mean, there's not a massive amount of news. Yeah, I know Buddy's saying the US is fully open, and look at the cases you've still got active there, buddy. Like, it's ridiculous. Sooner or later, the government has to say, well, we've got to open this up, and what happens, happens. I know, look, it's terrible, but businesses are going broke. Every day I see online and you know, on the news and stuff, you've got business operators crying and stuff like that because their businesses are just going broke. I mean, they've opened up at the moment again, I think, but you can only have limited numbers in restaurants, and most of them are saying they can't even afford to open them with those limited numbers. And when you think, you know, it's just crazy. Yeah, we are, Ike, still in part lockdown here. Yeah, it's nuts. And I think we had 1 case yesterday. Oh, honestly. No one cares about the vaccine out here, laugh out loud. Were you saying, so Buddy said, yes, US fully open. Ike said, wow, you guys are still on lockdown like that. I guess no one cares about the vaccine out there. No, well, we are taking them. So, you know, I mean, I had mine a week ago. So, but who knows, honestly, it's just crazy. It really is. It's ridiculous. Anyway, let's get stuck into some of the news stories today because, look, there's not a heap, but there's some interesting rumours going around. So we're going to have a look at some interesting things as well. Mark said, no idea why it's always South States of Australia. I don't know either, Mark. Probably incompetent governments, probably. Okay, so let's switch over anyway. So let me go to the browser. And I'm not going to do that one first. We're going to go here. Now, this is interesting because we keep seeing this as being a problem with chip shortages everywhere. Now, it's going to start holding cameras back, which is interesting. Well, anything actually, because it looks like it's going to be a problem until 2022. I will come back to the chat too later, guys. So we'll see that. But it looks like it's going to be 2022, according to this Goldman Sachs, I think it is, chief Asia economist. He's saying that he expects the shortage will end in early 2022. So it's not looking good for much to be released anytime soon due to the fact of the price of things. If there's such a shortage that's out there, well, we're going to have to wait a long time to get those in to the gear that we're waiting on. The other thing too is that they're saying it puts prices up around about 20 to 30% if you want to buy it now. So that probably is going to be a real issue. And there's a whole article here talking about, I think Tony Northrup talks about it as well. But you can have a read of that because I just wanted to sort of mention that because it ties into some of the other stories that I'm going to talk about in a minute, which is, pretty interesting. So let me just go to the next one because it says here that the global shortage of components seems to be the cause of delay for the Sony AV-E10 launch. Now, I did sort of discuss that previously, but it looks like now at the moment that it's just been held back by this component shortage that they just can't get them, or they're not willing to pay the price for what they would be. Like I said, it was a 20 to 30% increase in funds to sort of purchase them. So, they're saying now that it's the cause of the delay for the ZV-10. And if anyone didn't know what that is, it's sort of the update for the ZV-1, I suppose you could say, or it's a mix between an A6000 and a ZV-1. But the specs of this camera is going to be a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor. So it is an APS-C sensor, though it's not, your smaller sensor like in the ZV-1. Kit lens will be the 16 to 50, so it is an interchangeable lens system. It will do 4K 25p at 100 megabits per second, and full frame HD in 100. It has standard and active stabilization, so they are putting the active stabilization in this as well, which is really good. I mean, I do like that in my ZV-1. Auto exposure with face priority. Product feature autofocus. I love that about the ZV-1. It's nuts. It's just so quick if you want to, say, do YouTube videos and product photography and stuff like that. So it looks like it's going to get that too. This is why I said it's sort of a mix between an A6000 series and a ZV-1. The button for the bokeh mode, again, that's taken from the ZV-1. Dedicated button to swap S&Q and photo video. USB tethering, direct for streaming to PC. So they're sort of plugging this as the plug-in for YouTubers and stuff like that. What else? Fully articulating screen. Sony A5000 body with no EVF. Price around €900. And it like I said, it looks sort of like a mix between an A5000 and a ZV-1. I think that's what they're sort of pointing at. I don't know. I'd probably prefer a ZV-1 than this, but anyway, it looks like anyway it's going to be delayed, and I'd say it's definitely because of the price of stuff coming out. Now, sort of even putting onto that too, it's interesting as well with this because there's rumours going around now that the ZVC2 will be released about a year, they're saying, after the A7IV. Now, it probably makes sense because obviously if you look at what the A7C is at the moment, it is an up. Well, it's not even. Well, I suppose it is. It's based on the A7III. In other words, I mean, it's the same sensor and things like that. It's just got a different body and EVF and stuff like that. So there's rumours now that they will be replacing that, and I thought, well, yeah, of course, because it is going to be replaced. But they're saying about a year after the A7IV. Now, the interesting thing there is they've said that it's going to be in September. And I've said to you guys all along that I believe that the A7IV was going to be announced in September. So I think it's pretty interesting that they have said that even here. And that makes sense to me, because the reason why this makes sense to me, because they want this a7IV to be released first, and then the new a7C II would be based off that spec, or those specs that are in the a7IV. And that's why I think it probably makes sense the way that they're announcing that. But also due to the shortages as well, I think it probably will push things out a bit further anyway. I'm still hoping that the a7IV will come out in September, or be announced in September. I have sort of said all along, I think September is going to be the announcement time, and then you're going to get, it'll probably be released October, November, just in time for Christmas, and that's going to be the really big seller for Sony. Probably be the, it'll probably be the highest selling camera for the whole year, looking at what the a7 III was like. As long as they do, do a good release, and I'm sure they will. I'm just seeing if they're mentioning anything down here. It just says, I just got development of the a7C started. Release is scheduled for 1 year after the a7IV, which will be announced in late September. No specs are known, but I'll talk about that in a minute, because we're going to look at it. I mean, there's a couple of things that I think have to be done in that camera. A better EVF would be definitely handy, and also your dual card slots, I think, should be pushed into the a7C II. I think that's probably what they will do. I hope that's what they will do. And obviously the better screen that you're now seeing in the a7 IIIA and the a7, what was it, a7R3A or whatever it is, that camera that's out with the better screen. Now, the next one, though, is interesting, because there's some wild rumours coming out. Now, the wild rumours are saying that it looks like one of the a7R5 prototypes has a 102 megapixel sensor. So, I don't know, let me know in the chat too what you guys think. Do you think it needs more than what we've already got in the megapixel racer? I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. But I'm happy with the 12 megapixel for the a7 III. But anyway, they're saying it's looking at 102. I mean, they probably are still going to compete with the Canon cameras that are sort of being predicted to be around that range. I think it was 80 or whatever, or 9, I can't remember. So it looks like the megapixel war is still going to be there. That is going to be interesting to see that, though. They're also saying a new Exmor RS fast sensor RS sensor faster than inside the A1 is on its way. So they're saying a faster one than on the A1 is on its way. That makes sense to me. But they're saying here that this will probably be in the A9 III. Because lower resolution and similar tech. And the interesting thing is, I think further down, they're saying in here that they don't think there'll be another 8K camera coming out this year at all. And so what probably will happen here is that the A9 III is going to have a better, faster sensor than what the A1 is, but it's not going to be the all-around camera that the A1 is. I would have thought, though, that if you were going to bring out an A9 III, surely you would do it before the Olympics. But I mean, who knows? They might be saying, well, the A1 is that camera that has to be used. I'm still not convinced that there's going to be an A9 III. I'm not sure. Do you guys think it's needed? I mean, do you think? I think I'd probably wait for well, let's discuss this, because it could be that it's not going to be a high resolution camera. This might be the 24 megapixel camera like the normal A9 that I have. So they could stick to that. So it could be that it's a faster sensor, so you're going to get much faster readouts. It's obviously going to have the electronic shutter. This may not even have a mechanical shutter. And it won't have the 8K. But the advantages, I suppose, are that if you like the 24 megapixel, and I do, I think that's just perfect for weddings. That's why I say even like the a7 III. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this. So there may still be a need for it if you want really fast shooting. But, the thing that I'm not convinced about is that this could potentially be in the a7 IV. And that's what I'm not quite sure about. I'm not sure whether they'll want to keep the A9 series going when they've got the A1. I don't know. I mean, you guys let me know what you think. I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting. But I'll come back to the chat because some people are commenting on it at the moment. Like I said, I think the a7 IV is going to be an unbelievable camera. I still believe that is going to blow everyone's mind when it comes out. The longer that we've waited for that camera, the more I think that they may put in that camera. So I wouldn't be surprised if the a7IV becomes something like what the A9 is now. I really would not be surprised. Remember, the last time that we had the a7 III announced, it basically beat the a7S II in video specs, apart from really the high-end side. So Sony didn't hold back on that camera at all, and I don't think they're going to hold back on the a7 IV either. The difference is that the A1 has been out for a fair period of time. The A7S has been out for a fair period of time. The a7 III, I mean, what is it now? 3 years old, I think, or something? So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they really up the game on that camera, because it's not really going to affect the A1 users, because you're not going to get 8K in an a7 IV. They'll probably still stick it with the 4K. Probably 60. I would definitely expect 4K 60 to be in that camera. I'm not sure about the bit depths and things like that they'll give us. I would expect it to be 4K 10-bit though, 422. That's what I expect that camera will have. But I would not be surprised one little bit if that has the focusing system of what the A9 or the A9 II has in, or even the A1 has in it. It's just going to be interesting, but I think they probably won't hold back on it. And like I said to you, the longer we wait on that, the more it probably will get. So I'm not convinced that there will be an A9 III. I hope so, because I love that camera and I don't need the megapixels that the A1 has. So an A3 for me probably would be the perfect camera to upgrade to when my A9 is no longer usable. So that would be a perfect sort of upgrade for me. The A9 II just isn't enough of an upgrade for me. So the A9 III, if they do bring that out and it's much, much better, might be a much bigger upgrade. It'll probably have the newer card system in there, the better screen at the back and things like that. So it's going to be interesting anyway to see if they do bring out an A9 III. They're also saying an a7 IV full frame 4K 30, 4K 60 and 120 in crop. So what they're saying there is that you're going to get a crop, I think, in the 4K 60. I hope that's not the case. I'll be surprised. You might get a 4K. There might be a small crop if you're doing... no, they shouldn't crop at 4K 60. I can understand 4K 120. I hope it doesn't crop at 4K 60. Besides the A1, no other 8K alpha camera this year. Well, I think that makes total sense. They probably do want to protect the A1, and that hasn't been out that long, and they probably want people to move down that line if you're going to get that. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we don't see another 8K camera this year. And they're also saying a ZV-10, a Bridge RX-10, high-end APS-C, the a7 IV this year, they're saying. So that's another interesting comment as well. But, like I said, with the chip shortage that's out there, I'm not sure it's going to still be there. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that. But I would definitely expect to see an a7 IV released this year. I still think that will happen. Let's keep moving, because then we'll go back into the chat after that. G'day, Aaron. Just saw him popping in. Full frame mirrorless lens guide. This is an interesting one. Now, I'll put the article down below so you can have a read of this, but it's really interesting to see how lucky we are with Sony. Because basically, it's... let me just quit that too. Can I get rid of that? Oh, there we go. I can just dump it there. It's amazing now how many lenses we have. And when you read this article, it's because they say that Sony have opened up the lenses to other providers, third-party providers like Tamron, Samyang, Sigma, people like that. I mean, I'm still using this Tamron 11 to 20mm. I've got the review coming up early next week, I think. Absolutely adore this little lens. Can't wait to show you all what I've done with it. So Sony, we're blessed in that regard, whereas the other manufacturers have kept it more locked in, and that's a real problem if you want to have a massive sort of lens range and for people to produce lenses for your mount. Well, it's interesting because this gives you a whole stack of diagrams or sort of graphs that you can look at to see what's covered by each lens. or each manufacturer actually. You can see here that what they're doing is they're saying the Sony, Samyang, Sigma, Tamron, Tonica, or Tokina, Viltrox, and Zeiss. Now, what you can do is you can actually skip down here and you can check the prime usage, and you can sort of see through here that it'll show you the actual focal length and the aperture. And then you can also go to zooms and have a look at that as well. And then you can go all and check out the all to sort of see a mix of everything. But that's Sony. Now, when you go down and you look at the difference between, say, the other brands that are out there, it's really stark how much of a difference. You know, look, if you compare what Canon, yeah, and yes, look, it's only recent that they're making RF lenses. If you count the other lenses that are in the system, if you wanted to use it with the adapters, well, then obviously, you know, this would change. But I'm talking here about lenses designed for the mirrorless system. You know, and it's way underneath, and you've only got Canon and Samyang. If you look down at the Nikon Z mount, again, it's a similar story. They've just got Nikon and Viltrox. So, you know, it's really interesting when you read this that how much difference it is. You can see here that Leica or the Panasonic, Leica and Sigma mount have got, it's better actually, because at least you've got those three brands that are there. And they're saying that if you have got digital SLR lens support, if you want to put adapters on and things like that, you know, run this way if you're dealing with it from that. But they're saying basically, if you look at it, I'm not going to read the whole story, but if you look at it, the whole thing with this was that how blessed we are with Sony, with what lens coverage we've got, with longer lenses, you know, the wide angles now, and zoom lenses, and other manufacturers producing really remarkable lenses. So, but I'll leave that down below in case if you're interested to have a look at it and check them all out, because I think it's really interesting thing to look at. And the last thing before we open up to Q&A, it's saying, I just thought I'd show this because it is an interesting one, and I've had discussions about this with Aaron as well when we chat together. But it's saying, when is photography no longer photography? And I just don't see really this as being an issue, because to me photography is art. So if you want to do it, it's fine, as long as you're open about what you've done and you don't try and claim that it's a still image. You know, I've got no problem with it at all, but as long as you're open and you don't try and make out that you've captured this image straight off the bat. Because the artificial intelligence now is just becoming ridiculous on how easily that you can add these backgrounds and stuff like that in there, you know, to get these effects and stuff like that. I don't think this one's done particularly well, actually, but anyway, that's just me. The lighting doesn't make sense on what they've done on the face up there and things, but also, they're talking about it here too from the this landscape, which they're saying is a lovely landscape picture, and then, you know, they've sort of made it into a sunset or a sunrise shot as well. I mean, like I said, they are saying it's utterly astounding, and they're saying this is interesting because they're saying here a beautiful daylight shot in the Seychelles has been transformed into a dramatic sunset shot, and casual viewers won't notice some of the imperfections that give away the composite. You can always usually pick them. You know, I mean, I can see it sort of on the edge through here as well, and a lot of it doesn't make sense. There's also, the reflection's not correct sort of in the water and stuff like that, so, and you can pick it around the edges too if it's not done very, very well. You know, and also the sun is sort of coming through here as well, so this doesn't make sense. If you're going to do it, try and make it look realistic, because if the sun's setting sort of over here or wherever, how on earth is it getting this shadow that's coming on the rocks? But anyway, it says, so are we under any obligation to declare reality of what we post? On social platforms, a new requirement has emerged that requires influencers to tag posts that are advertisements. So important was it to ensure that viewers understood the nature of the sponsored content that posts are now being actively removed when these guidelines are broken. There are no such requirement in place for composite photography. And the thing is too, look, you should. I think you should. I think you should really say that. Don't try and make out like it's your own image. But like I said, I haven't got a problem with it because it's art. If that's what your image is, I think, to me personally, it's fine as long as you're open about it and say, you know, this is art. It's not photography, because that's the point to me where it does border from photography to to art, and it is more art, it's not photography. The second you start doing that, I think it's no longer in the realm of photography, but you can let me know what you think as well. I think it's more digital manipulation, which, like I said, I don't have a problem with, but it's you've got to be honest about it. It says photojournalists are obligated to provide unedited photos to news outlets. The rest of us are free to create what we want under the guise of photography. And the interesting one was what they said at the end. Is it now the case that what is real is no longer beautiful? And that is a really interesting point that they've said there. And if so, what does that say about society? And the other thing too was we had like I said, I discussed this with Aaron when we had the show going, and we had the same sort of thing there where sometimes you can get caught out because they all use the same skies and everything else. So, it can be a bit of a problem if you are using the same images that everyone else is using. And there was one Instagrammer, I think she used the same sky in every single shot, which she got caught out on. So it is interesting. Like I said, I think if you're open about it and honest about it, there's no issue, but you shouldn't be trying to make out like this was the shot of, like this beach or whatever, trying to make out like it's photography when really it's not. It's a composite image. It's art. So I just thought I'd share that with you as well. Now let me see. I've just got to come back to here. So let's open up to the Q&A. And let me try this too. Look, if you haven't subbed. Oh yeah, baby. I love it. Let me go back to where we were. Juicy said, just hi, David. Brett said here, seeing retailers closing down too, plus camera sales are low. Yep, we've seen the biggest one in Melbourne close down, which was Michael's. They've closed down due to COVID, and they're not reopening again as a store, which is a real shame because that's where I always used to buy my gear from. Now I'm going to have to use other camera stores. I do like to go into an actual camera store and purchase stuff. But they've now closed and just doing online sales, which is a real shame. Mark said Queensland has been open for a very long time now. Buddy G said Sony launching a new APS-C. Well, there's still rumours about it's going to be a high-end APS-C. We're still waiting on that. Who knows? I keep hearing that rumour coming up, but we'll have to wait and see. Personally feel like you are going to force businesses to close down, then you shouldn't be forced to pay any bills. They should be on some kind of support system. Yeah, no, I agree, Ike, completely. The issue is, I can sort of mention how it was here in Australia, but here in Australia, we did get $2,000 a month during the big lockdown that we had. But to get that, you had to be 30% down on your sales. Now, I can tell you what my sales are. I'm honest with everyone. My sales were 80% down for over 12 months. And that showed it was probably 89% was the average that my sales were down. So, yes, I did get $2,000, but it was nowhere near what I was losing by not being able to work. And that is the issue. Now, that stopped this year, so it has stopped. I think it stopped in March, I think. And then the problem is we've had 2 lockdowns since then, and the same thing has happened again, but we haven't been given any money. Now, they did offer us money, I think, from the last lockdown, which was 3 weeks ago, and they said it was going to be paid immediately. I'm still waiting on getting money for that. Who knows? It's still waiting. You would think it should be there immediately. But look, I mean, I'm lucky because Kerry still works and we've only got me to worry about, even though it has cost the business an awful lot of money. And like I said, I was down 89% for 12 months. So that's a hell of a lot of money coming out of savings. Now, the issue is it's more for people that have multiple people working for them or say businesses, restaurants, where they can only have a number of people in the restaurant. It's just not worth opening up for those sort of numbers. I think weddings at the moment, we're still limited to 50, I think, people, and it's only just gone back to that. It was 10 the other day. So, we've had weddings cancelled again in that period of time. So it's a real problem, and like I said, venues are suffering because they can't have people in. You can't go into a bar to stand up and have a drink. You have to be sat down. You can only have one person per full meters. And you think about it, that this is with I think yesterday, I don't know what we've got today, but we had one case, I think, yesterday, and not one person has died this year. I think we've only had one person in ICU. I don't know. Look, I'm not quite sure what on earth is going on, because businesses are not going to survive. And that's the issue. I think you have to, yes, look, it's terrible if you have anyone that has died from COVID. I can completely understand that it is just terrible, awful, in fact. But the end of the day, at some point, we have to get people back working, or you're going to have people committing suicide. That there's going to be no businesses running. Then what happens? I mean, it's just going to be terrible. I mean, we have got vaccines here. Like I said, I've just had the AstraZeneca, but then we were told yesterday that no one now underneath 60 can get AstraZeneca because the blood clotting that's been there. So then you have to get Pfizer or another one, and then we haven't got enough of those coming into the country at this stage. So, I mean, look, who knows? I mean, it's just crazy. And sooner or later, they're going to have to decide to say, well, for the good of everyone, we are going to just have to open up and then say, look after the people that are vulnerable. And I think that's probably what is going to end up having to happen in the end anyway. I think I just got a super chat, did I? I don't know. There was a noise there. Let me just come down and see. Yes, Long Rider did. Thank you so much, Long Rider. Let me just bring that up. Thank you so much. So, yeah, it's, it's... Oh, I got another one there from Sam. Oh, thank you so much, Sam. It's really... He's saying I love that too. Well, let me read what Sam's saying here. Sam said, $5 from Sam Photography. Now you're only down 88.999%. I know, and this is the thing, like they just... Governments just can't keep doing this. They can't just keep locking down everyone all the time. And I feel more sorry for restaurants, because restaurants are buying all the food. They pay a fortune to get the food, and then they're stopping it the next day. So they've got all this food that then they have to chuck out. If you're in the tourism, people can't, they're buying airline tickets and then it stopped mid-flight. Like they actually have to go into lockdown when they get to the location they were going to. And that's happened mid-flight. Like it's nuts. And you think, we've got 2 cases or some ridiculous thing. Anyway, sorry to rag, guys, but it just does my head and I just don't understand it. I really don't. I have a friend who ordered a new car and won't get it till September because of the chip shortage. Yes, my daughter has ordered a new car, and also my son-in-law, her husband, has also ordered a new car, and they've been on order for months. And it's just a Toyota. Yeah, actually, his is a Toyota. Kane's getting a Toyota. My daughter actually is getting a Porsche. Yeah, she's got to wait months and months until she can get that. But hopefully, I think she said now it was maybe July. Yes, shipping costs more than 5 to 6 times. I bought a freezer part, cost $95, but the total cost was, wow, $385, $290 shipping fee. Woohoo! That's crazy. Brett said, and camera prices are going up as well. Yep, they are. Mark said, not just shortages, but overall issues in many manufacturer systems. Oops, excuse me. Even outside of cameras globally. Will I see you in September or lose you to a chip shortage? Oh, I love it. Still, 42 Pro said, still waiting on a dual card slot APS-C flagship. Yeah, well, it'll happen, I think, eventually. I mean, the interesting thing is at the moment, Tamron seem to be doing the most for APS-C cameras out there. So that's, really interesting. But hopefully Sony will bring out a new APS-C camera soon. And that's why I'm saying, how long have we been hearing about the a7,000, That other camera I showed you, though, was APS-C, which is this one. That ZV, let me just switch to this. This is an APS-C camera. See, it's a 24 megapixel APS-C, but it's a low-ended one. That's the thing you've got to understand about that. It's not a high-ended APS-C one, whereas they're sort of saying in the rumors that we're going to get a high-ended APS-C, which, you know, would be what we would sort of be thinking about the A7000 camera. 60 megapixels is the sweet spot between resolution and diffraction. 100 is over the top. It will be interesting to see how many lenses can resolve that sort of a megapixel, won't it? It will be interesting, yeah, and I understand, yeah, that you are starting to get into the point of getting diffraction. I think 102 megapixels is too much for full frame. I would prefer a medium format sensor at that pixel dynamic range and color. I am surprised that Sony don't do one. I really am. At the moment, really, Fuji have got that market. I know, look, there's others out there, but they're really, really expensive. If you're talking about, you know, getting a reasonably priced medium format camera, you can't beat the Fujis. And that's a Sony sensor in that. So I am surprised in a way that Sony don't offer that as another option. So who knows? They certainly have the sensor to do it. G'day, Michael. Good to see you here. How you going, buddy? They should have created the A1 as, was that manual focus, and the A9 as the full frame flagship. Medium format, you're saying. Okay, I thought you said manual focus. I was going to say, why would you do that? So it seems the R3 will be sporting a Sony sensor. Well, it's interesting because I just read a story. They were talking about the R6. Was it the R6? Or it could have been the R3, actually. I think Canon are disputing that. They're actually saying now that it's not going to be. Let me just see if I can find that for you, because where did I see that? New window. They're saying they've developed their own first sensor. I think it might have been DP Review. Let me just have a quick look. I'll see if I can find it, because I'll show you the article. DP Review. It was either on there or Petapixel. Might have been Petapixel. Yep, let me try Petapixel. So they were obviously they were worried about what people were saying, because they were saying, no, it's definitely a Canon sensor. Yeah, it's here. Let me see if I can just bring it over. And share this one. Let me go back to the browser. I'll just share this for a second. Brave browser. Here. All right, so if you look at it here, I'll just move it up so it'll move in a minute. So it's saying that Canon rebuffs rumours that its R3 sensor is made by Sony. And there's a whole sort of article in here that they're saying it's actually a Canon one. They're saying since Canon's initial development announcement... oh, did I get another donation? No, I don't know what that was. Don't know. That was weird. They're saying since Canon made an initial development announcement for the EOS R3, rumours have swirled that the company, despite its statement otherwise, was not the manufacturer of the backside illuminated sensor at its core. Stated factually that the R3 sensor is made by Sony, and Canon has responded. It says here, Canon stated that the upcoming EOS R3 sensor will feature Canon's first ever full-frame backside illuminated stacked CMOS sensor that is designed in-house. So it looks like it's made by Canon. So it's their first backlit stacked sensor. So anyway, they've disputed that. So they must have been worried about what people were saying about that, because they've put out a whole article about it. So it's interesting. Where were we? Michael said, so do you think the a7IV can do well in weddings? Oh, yes, I certainly do, Michael. I think it is a perfect wedding camera. I really do. You said for stills, yep. 12 megapixels is ample. You can go up to 20 by 30 in your print size. The resolution is amazing, color's amazing, focus is amazing, file size is unbelievable because you can just get through them so fast. And if you did need to go really large, you've got so many options now where you can, blow the image up if you needed to. But like I said, I would go 20 by 30 without a problem with a 11 megapixel sensor. So yep, not a problem at all. Good to see Aaron in here. Aaron's been busy on some secret stuff that I know no one else is, but I know what Aaron's up to. Sam is also saying hi, everyone. Heath, the E-mount is ubiquitous. Mark said, there is always a surprise from Sony, and September could be indeed a A9 III, non-mechanical shutter time and no more A7 at all, but perhaps my thoughts. Possible, Mark, but I would think it would be more the other way around. I think it would be more the A7IV and no A9 III. That's what I would think anyway, but who knows? It's art. Do whatever you want. I agree with you, David. Rocco said, David, any recommendations for an anamorphic lens to use with the Sony a7S III? No, look, I haven't, because I haven't used any. The only anamorphic lens that I've used is the one that I just showed recently on the iPhone. That's the only one that I've ever used, and I'm getting another one sent to me from SanDisk as well, which is the 1.55 anamorphic lens, so they're going to be sending that to me. But yeah, if you check my YouTube channel, you'll see the one that I did there. But look, I would love to get my hands on some because I loved using it with the iPhone, and I would love to have that ability to do it with my Sony a7S III. So yes, I am certainly interested in it, but I haven't been able to get one at this stage, so I can't recommend anything. Someone else might be able to, Rocco, as well. Phil's here. What did I miss? I got a super chat. So there was probably a super chat before, was there? What color profile do you use with the a7S III for still, or do you turn it all? Stills, I turn it off. The color profile I use for video is the S-Cinetone. Now you can leave the S-Cinetone on stills and it gives you a beautiful result too, Joseph. So that's fine if you want to do that. I do still use S-Log if I'm in a very, very contrasty situation, and I'll use S-Log 3. And I use the Leeming LUT profile for that. So that's what I use, and that's a very simple process, although I've just started to use another one. I can't remember the name of it. But it's more, it's less where you have to overexpose by 2 stops. You just treat it as a normal exposure. If I remember it, I'll put it in the comments down below. So I've started using that. But overall, I would just use S-Cinetone if I get the choice, because I don't really have to do any post-processing later on. I can just throw it straight into whatever I'd like to put it in and just put it out as it is, and the colours are beautiful. And S-Cinetone is also really good for your stills as well. So if you did want to, say, leave one on, I would probably just use S-Cinetone. Phantom LUTs, yes, thank you. It is that one, Phil. Yeah, it's called Phantom LUTs. That's what I've just started using recently, and they're really good, actually, because you expose normally with the Phantom LUTs. I think you do lose a little bit of dynamic range with it. Like it's not as good as the Leeming LUTs, because you're not pushing that sensor to give the full range of exposure, but it still gives you great results, much more than, say, if you're using S-Cinetone, without having to do the exposure problems, which the issue is that even if you put the profile viewing on the camera itself to see what the profile is giving you, it still doesn't match it very, very well. So if you're using Phantom LUTs, you just expose normally, actually. I still always go a little bit over, but you can expose normally and shoot like you normally would, and you get this much better dynamic range. So, and that's using S-Log 3. So it's terrific. And I've started using that now. But S-Cinetone if I have the choice. So I hope that answered your question. What else have we got? Yeah, we're up to here. Shadows are wrong. We're talking about that image before, Michael said. Don't hold back, Michael. I love it. Yeah, please, Michael, just don't hold back. Just say what you feel. Yeah, post it and say, here is my composited photo. Exactly. And then who cares? Because it's then art. And that's the way of doing it, I think. Photography is a combination of art and science. I like digitally replacing all the models' faces with young Eva Mendes guys included. Oh, Phil. I felt like, yeah, the same sky. I remember that. Mark said manipulation starts the moment an image goes through edit. Let's not kid ourselves. It does. I suppose there's a difference, though, between, say, adjusting a little bit of exposure or something like that than dropping in new skies and birds and everything else. I think that's the point where it becomes, like I said, it's not wrong, but you've just got to be honest about it. You shouldn't be trying to make out like it's a photo you've captured, in one click. Heath said a couple of restaurants in my neighbourhood closed due to COVID, but they won't be missed. There must have been good ones. Manipulation starts when you push the button. Wow. Aaron said, yep, went down 89%, Aaron, for over 12 months. Thoughts about Tamron 150 to 500 a month ago. I was thinking about the Sigma 100 to 400. Now I have a dilemma. Cheers from Poland. Thought about the Tamron 150 to 500 a month ago. Was thinking about the Sigma 100. Yeah, it's hard. I love the Tamron 150 to 500. I think I'd probably go that one. I'd want the extra reach. And I love that comment. Manipulation begins when you wake in the morning. Thanks so much, Long Rider and Sam, for the super chats. Really appreciate that. Aaron J. Anderson, the moment a woman conceives, perhaps, or Eve is a bit like, oh, yeah. What else? We need to close these politicians down. They work for, don't get me started on it, Long Rider, honestly. Nothing wrong with the AstraZeneca vaccine. Millions in the UK have had it, no issues. Yeah, like I said, we've just been told yesterday that you can't have it if you're under 60. You can only go for the other injections, because we had 12 people who had the blood clotting last week. I mean, yeah, I know. You look at it, there's still very little chance. Anyway, I've had it, so I've had it, and I'll get the second one whenever, Aaron said it's crazy about the lockdowns. Yep, certainly is. Peter said, hi, David. Show looks good. Saying hi from Miami. G'day, Peter. How you going, buddy? Always love watching Peter's stuff. New trade deal with the UK. Will things get cheaper for Aussies? Well, hopefully we'll get some of your whiskey that's cheaper. Stuart, you're going to get some of our wine that's cheaper as well, so it's going to be fun. I want four A7Cs too. I know you love the A7C, Aaron, don't you? What else? Pentax K3 high-end APS-C with 2 card slots. Bicycle parts are pretty bad. What, they're really expensive, are they? Or whatever it was. In order for Sony to do medium-size camera, they would have to do a new mount and new lenses. Yeah, I can understand that. That's why I don't think it probably will happen. I'm not sure. Colin Petts here is just saying hi. Thank you so much, Joseph, for that super chat. And Phil was saying, yes, it's Phantom LUTs. You do have to pay for them, but they're not expensive at all. I paid for them. In fact, I paid for those and the Leeming LUTs ones. Color profile, affect raw files. Yes, it does. Look, I didn't think it did, because I didn't think it was baked into the raw file, but it is. But it doesn't matter, because you can edit the raws any way you like. But yes, it does affect them. So I think I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it only affects the preview, the JPEG part to it. It shouldn't matter in the RAWs themselves, because you can do whatever you like with them, but it definitely affects the preview. So when you take it into Lightroom or whatever, you'll see it roughly as it was shot with that profile on. I think that's correct. Joseph said, love Phantom LUTs. So do I. They're terrific. They really are great. David, did you say SanDisk anamorphic lens? Yes, it's the SanDisk anamorphic lens. Let me just see. Do I still have it? I just don't want to open up YouTube. I think it's on another disc, actually. Let me just check in video backup, see if it's in there. No, I haven't got it. If you go back into my YouTube channel, there you'll see it. Yeah, it's a SanDisk. Now, the one I used last time, I think it was a 1.3. Was it 1.33? I think it was the 1.33 version. Now the one I'm getting is a 1.55, so it's even wider. But I loved it. It was great. The lens itself is terrific. It's tiny. Have I got it handy? Just let me see. I think it might be in the other room. No, I think I've locked it in my cupboard. It screws into this case. So it actually screws into the case in here. You can't use it on the ultra-wide angle lens, but you can use it on the other two. There are notes in the house, actually, because I was going to use it the other day. So you get this, well, this is the better case, and I talked about that in the review that I did. You do get a cheaper case, but they also sent me this better case, which is metal on this housing here. But you just screw it in and shoot, and it's beautiful. And you can do it two ways. You can then de-squeeze it in your application like Final Cut, or you can use something like Filmic Pro, and inside of Filmic Pro, it has a de-squeeze in it, so you see it actually correct, which is terrific. I tried both ways. I tried to de-squeeze it in Photoshop, in Final Cut, and also used Filmic Pro, which de-squeezes it for you. But yeah, works. It's great. I love it. So I can't wait. Sandmark, that's it. Yes, you're right. It is Sandmark, not SanDisk. Sellers Market here in the USA, April. I was offered one, whatever that is, for my Kia Sorento, but held off in June and sold. Wow, I know used cars here have gone nuts, and I think it's the same everywhere because they can't get new cars. So you're saying it was 17,000, and you can get 24,000 now. So it's the same exactly as happened here. Used cars have just gone through the roof. David, the reason why I asked about the a7III for weddings is because I have a lot of weddings lined up, but I've never used the a7S III in weddings before, but I do love shooting with it. Yep, I wouldn't hesitate at all, Michael. It's now my go-to camera. I'll use the a7III more than any other camera now in weddings. I still use the A9 and the a7III. Kerry uses the A9. I shoot with the a7S III. I wouldn't hesitate at all, Michael. No one is ever going to know the difference. Hey, David, quick question. Any reason you use Mac over Windows, or have you always been a Mac user? I'm asking in good faith. Oh, look, no problem. Yeah, look, I used to be PC. I originally started out on PC using DOS, believe it or not. I used to be doing that. But I got so sick and tired of having viruses and everything else that I just decided that I would switch over to Windows. And because I lectured in university and I was in the sort of arts field and Photoshop, I was one of the original beta testers for Adobe, actually, for Photoshop. I was what they call an Apple Fellow as well, which was one of two people in Australia for the Apple system for the universities. And because early on, the desktop publishing apps were really all Mac-based. That's why I switched over to Macintosh, because it just didn't work as well with Windows. There was issues with fonts. There was issues with outputting files for printing and things like that, and everything was based on the Mac system. So I shifted over to Mac, and I've been Mac ever since. And I suppose since that point, now everything is Mac that I use, like phones are Mac, I use Apple TVs, and everything in the house, it sort of all links together, and I love that. Like I use iPads, and everything is linked together so that everything works all seamlessly together. Look, I think if I was probably getting into it now, I probably would go Windows because it's far cheaper, and the programs are now all available in Windows. But I love Final Cut. That's one thing I have to say. I tried Premiere, and I love Final Cut. Like, I just love that program, so I would really hate to lose that. But, if you're talking about performance, you can't beat the Windows machines. I mean, that's for sure. So, I probably, if I was just getting into it now, I may have gone into Windows now. But I've got so much invested in Mac stuff now that I just couldn't do it. What else? So I hope that answers your question. But they're both great both great systems. I mean, I use VMware on my computer for things, that are easy. For instance, if you're updating Sony cameras, it is unbelievably easier to update the firmware on a Windows PC as compared to a Mac. It is a pain in the backside if you have a Macintosh. If it's Windows, it is just as simple as anything. So I now just do it in VMware. Yeah, thanks for that, Dan. It is Sam Mark. Yep. The real Kudo, once you go Mac, you never go back. It's just performance-wise. I mean, like the performance you can get on PCs are just nuts compared to what you can, you pay for on Macintosh, I suppose. Fair point. M1 has me curious because in the past Macs haven't been so good when it comes to After Effects. The issue is too. Look, I've got the M1 Mac Mini, and I think it's fantastic for the cost and price. It's fantastic. It really is. But I think it's probably best at this stage to wait and see if they release another M1X version. It's that the issue is things like RAM and stuff like that, but. I mean, I can run my computer pretty well, but there's issues with it that annoy the crap out of me. Like, for instance, I can only have 2 external monitors out of the M1. Now, that's the Mac Mini. If you've got a MacBook, you can only have 1 other monitor out of them. It's little things like that Apple can do your head in, whereas... So now, if I wanted to use multiple monitors, I would have to use something like DisplayLink and then run multiple monitors. And I tried that. But the issue was there was a big hit in performance. So it's something you've got to think about. So I think the next Mac Mini will be the one for me because I would expect them to add more monitor support out of that. You'll probably be able to run 3 monitors out of it. I would say that's probably what's going to be the case because that was the Intel version of it. But it's a great system for the cost, that's for sure. And I noticed LumaFusion the other day just got updated to the M1 processor. Capture One is updated to the M1 processor now. Lightroom just got updated to the M1 processor the other day. So all the things that were hard early on now are becoming good. They really are now working very, very well. For the price, the M1 is amazing. It really is. I found Sam Mark. Yep, that's what it is, Sam Mark. I said once you go Mac. I recently got the Mac Mini M1 16GB. It runs circles around my 2500 PC laptop. Yeah, and I agree. Like I said, it's fantastic. The only thing, like I said, is if you are still dealing with being able to run multiple video cards and things like that, like if you're really serious about doing video, the M1 is great, but if you start to, say, layer up much on the M1 on Final Cut, it will start to struggle a little bit if you're dealing with 4K. If you had a Windows machine with, the dual cards, like video cards in there and all this sort of stuff going on there, well, then it would perform much, much better. And you can see that if you look at real benchmarks, that you can't beat that sort of system with dual cards. But if you're just, say, dealing with like what I do, which is not having too many layers in Final Cut, and things like that. The M1 Mac is amazing. And like Ike said, the interface is, the ecosystem is second to none. It is. It's brilliant how it works. I mean, the new system that's going to be coming out where you can just slide your whatever you're doing on one to the other looks brilliant. The way that new system's going to work looks terrific. We are in the process of putting a new engine in our car rather than replacing it because of the price of used cars. Interesting. What else have we got? What's that mean? Miak, next, you go black. What else? Saying Final Cut will keep me tied to the Mac forever. Premiere's trash. Yeah, I hated Premiere. I really hated it. And I just don't like the black magic either. I mean, I think Final Cut is just so optimized for the Mac, it's not funny. I mean, it runs so well. And I've paid for plugins on that as well, like a lot of money. And things like that. So I'm stuck in it. So there's no way known I'm going to be moving out of it, that's for sure. I multitask with the M1 Mac Mini using 3 screens, do a live show with a guest whilst editing video and Final Cut, edit and capture one, and watch a movie all at once. Like I said, the only time I've seen it struggle is if I did display link, because when I had this as a multi-monitor setup, it really struggled. It actually was dropping frames badly. If you are dealing with normal stuff in Final Cut, an M1 is fine. If you were dealing with using 4K 60 or 120 and you start to layer it up, you will drop frames. And that's something that you do have to consider. I think the next M1 will be the one to get if you want to have really good Final Cut Pro editing. It'll be the M1X, whatever that will be. And that's definitely one that I'll be upgrading to. Hi, David. Just say thanks for your advice. I buy the a7C with the Tamron 17 to 28 and the 28 to 70, 28 to 75 2.8, and I'm super happy. You certainly will be. That is just a great combo. Basically what Aaron's using. Raymond said, glad to see you are still on, Dave. My nephew got married 2 weekends ago and I used nothing but my 51.2. Nice. And the 35. I was so wowed by my a7S III pictures, and then I would show someone a pic. It was, I don't know, it left there. It didn't add in. It mustn't be long enough to add in. I know, it's Raymond, it's so good. The a7S III is unbelievable. I think it's the most underrated still cameras that Sony have. Best out of the box, soft, portable, handheld light you own. Well, I'd have to say it's the Profoto B10, Michael. That would be the best out of the box one I've got. Are you talking about small ones though? Are you talking about, because that's a flash and a continuous light, but that's the best one that I've got. I definitely would say that that's by far the best one. I noticed they've just put out an iPhone app with it as well. If you're talking about little lights, well, that's a different thing. Always through the viewfinder, never the monitor, so 3D like. Yeah, I love that too. The viewfinder, the EVF in the a7S III, well, it's the same as the A1. They're just brilliant. My 27-inch iMac was 7 years old when I sold it last November, and I got $700 for it. And you know what? The thing too is that they last forever. They do really last an awful long time, and that's one good thing about it. You do pay more, but they do last an awful long time. I went Mac, haven't been back. Raymond said 135 I meant. Oh, okay, yeah, 135 is just, I love that lens. It's fantastic. Sid's just saying, what's up, David? How are you, buddy? Max is here as well. Just saying hi to Ike. Mark said, M1 Mac Mini 16 gigabytes with 2 external SSDs running 38-inch curved screen and 2 TV sets, Atom Mini, Rodecaster, Steam Deck, etc. That's basically what I've got. I've got the Mac Mini 16 gig one myself. I have an M1 MacBook Pro with 16 gigabyte RAM, docked to a 32-inch LG 4K HDR monitor, and I have no issues. Edits 4K with ease and can even handle Canon R5 8K RAW. Like I said, I've had no issues at all except for when I start to really put multiple layers on. that's when I do have an issue with it. But you've got to push it to make it do that. Rumours say the Sony a7IV only give 4K 60 120 in crop mode. I hope that's not true. I don't think that's going to be true. I think we'll get full 4K 60 out of it. 1K 20, yes, but I think we'll get 4K 60, 10-bit 422. And I think it won't be cropped. That's what I'm sort of predicting. Long Rider said I won't give Apple 1 cent. I've always had a Mac in the studio. I had no choice, but I built a multi-card machine. I'm a Resolve user that also does 3D graphics. Yeah. Like I said, if you're into real high-end 3D graphics sort of stuff, well, then you can't beat those sort of systems either. I have the 2GB internal SSD in my MacBook. I'm a Premiere and Blackmagic guy. I finally went over to the dark side and got the a7 R3. Woohoo, Sid. Simon said, curious as to why there's no other CF Express type card yet other than Sony's. Well, I did talk about that the other day. There is going to be some other, there was another manufacturer that's going to be coming out soon. Sony have licensed this, I suppose, but there was another third party. I can't remember who it was, but I did discuss it in a show a couple of weeks ago, I think. So it's definitely going to happen. Sam loves Resolve. See, everyone loves different things. Sid said, I'm stuck on the PC, but with the graphics card shortages, it's hard. Yeah, like I said, it's always hard to get graphics cards, though, no matter what time it is. Sid said, I built this PC and can't get the graphics card I need. Macs don't have that problem. Pema said, G-Master 100 to 400 versus Tamron 150 to 500. Which produces good they're both good. They are both terrific lenses, Pema. It really depends on if you need the reach. Like if it was me, I'd get the 150 to 500, but that's me. But yeah, they're both great lenses. Just trying to see down here, because a lot of people are just talking between themselves. Zoet said the 90mm 2.8 is also a very sharp lens. That's one of the sharpest lenses Sony has. And a lot of people are sleeping on it. Pre-135GM, it was the sharpest Sony lens and still is in the top 3, if not the top 5. I agree completely. That lens is nuts how sharp that is. Aaron got that recently for his for all his macro stuff, and it's incredible. Love it too, guys. If you could give me a thumbs up, it does make a difference. I am unsponsored. So that's about it. So that's about it, guys. It's time for me to go and get a coffee, I think. As I say, my New York accent, coffee. I have a wedding with 15 groomsmen. Oh, no, I feel sorry for you Americans, honestly, Michael. It's nuts. 15 groomsmen and 15 bridesmaids and 2 kids. See, we're lucky to have 3 on each side. I very rarely get 4 groomsmen and 4 bridesmaids. Very, very rarely. I think we sort of more follow the English system. I look at you guys shooting the American weddings and thinking, oh no, I would hate that, having that many. It would be awful. It's hard enough to organise just with 4 bridesmaids and 4 groomsmen. Like I said, to me, the perfect number is 3 and 3 and your bride and groom, or actually 2 and 2 and the bride and groom is sort of works. Yes, Max, it is all cut out and they got it all out. I do have to though, because I've still got the problem for me is I've got the skin damage. You can see it if I look down. You can see all the red spots. I've got skin damage on my head, which I got from when I was a kid. So I'm going to have to use a cream, and it's interesting because they found out this cream called Effidux was a cream that they used for something else. I can't remember what it was, but they found out that when you rubbed it onto skin, it only affects the sun-damaged part of the skin. And so it actually is like chemotherapy, but it's not dangerous. But it's extremely painful, and your head basically will blister and do all stuff, and then I've got to do that for 3 weeks. So I do have to start doing that. I've got a wedding on Monday, so I've been waiting for that to finish, and then I'm going to do it because I'll have to start wearing a hat again because you look like a freak. But once that's done, your head will be like a baby's bum. Like it literally. I've used it before. I used it a number of years ago, and I should have done it a while ago again. But it basically takes all of the sun damaged skin off, and it leaves you with like baby's skin. It's that fresh, the skin that's left there, but it's hell for 2 weeks or 3 weeks while you're doing it. So I'll probably start that on Tuesday. So I probably will be wearing a hat again because I'm going to look like a freak with a red head. But anyway, it's called Effidux. But yeah, they got all the cancer out, so I'm fine with that. I'm sure if I leave it, I'll get more because they just said it's just like watching, waiting. It just happens. Luckily, I haven't had melanoma. My mother died of melanoma. I haven't got melanoma. I've just had squamous cell carcinomas. So if you get those early enough, you're fine. So just make sure you check up, everyone. I have the Oculus Quest, is it? And would love to play PCVR titles, but the M1 chip still needs work on that department. Yeah, some things are terrible. If you're into music like I am, and you're a musician, my musical adapters don't work with it at all. Like I've got the Apollo Twin. Which there's just no drivers for it. It just won't work. It will go on, but then it just starts crashing. So, if you're into certain things, plugins are still an issue. Most plugins still don't work with M1s, but they are slowly upgrading them. But it's been more the music side of things for me that has been the worst. But, yeah, there's nothing much you can do about it. You've just got to wait. I suppose that's the issue if you go and join things early. But I'm sure as the M1 becomes the most sold computer, and remember, they've only said 2 years, for support of the Intel gear. So the second that the Intel gear is not really being sold anymore and it's now all M1, all the software people will catch up. The anger photographer was busy today. No thumbs down. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know. COVID-19 is slowly winding down. I have my first wedding in a year next month, and I'm actually looking forward to it with bated breath. Yeah, I always love doing weddings, and Max just said awesome as well. So thanks so much, everyone. Stay tuned. I've got a couple of really interesting reviews this week. One coming up later this week, I think, is a game changer for videographers. I've been under NDA for a month. So just wait for that because it's incredible. I've also got another article from SmallRig that I'm going to be showing, which is a follow focus type thing, and another couple of things that I'll be doing during the week too. But the other thing, which I can't tell you about, wait till you see it. Apart from that, everyone, I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend.